The ultra wealthy are buying in these Boston suburbs, but it doesn't mean that you should. I'm not just talking about price tags, because if you're spending millions, you're buying a lifestyle. And the truth is, some of these towns, well, they might not actually offer what you want. Here's what I mean. Just because a suburb is home to Boston's wealthiest residents doesn't mean that it aligns with your priorities. Towns like Weston, Dover, and Lincoln, well, they might offer privacy and prestige, but they also could be lacking the energy, amenities, or community feel that you're looking for. This video breaks down the real lifestyle trade-offs in Boston's most elite suburbs, so you can choose a place that works for you, not just your budget. Because in Boston's luxury market, buying the wrong home in the wrong town isn't just a small misstep, it's a multi-million-dollar mistake. The vibe of the town, the pace of life, access to community, amenities, even the school culture. These aren't things that you can fix with a renovation, and this video could save you from buying in the suburb that might look good on paper, but doesn't support the way you actually live. I'm Kimberlee Meserve, founder of the Street Property Team, and I've spent the last decade helping Boston's high-end buyers navigate the market, from tech executives to relocating families. And one of the biggest surprises for these people is that the town that they often think they want first isn't where they end up buying. So before we dive into specific towns, let's establish what we're actually talking about when I say the ultra wealthy suburbs. Because in the Boston market, there's a clear distinction between expensive neighborhoods and truly elite areas. Ultra wealthy suburbs aren't just about high prices, they're about exclusivity that money alone can't always buy. So first, let's talk about some numbers. We're looking at communities where $2 million is your entry point, not your dream home budget. These towns often have estate zoning, meaning that the minimum lot size is 1 to 2 acres, sometimes more. And the public schools, well, they're consistently ranked in the top 1% statewide. Second, the buyer profile. We're talking about C-suite execs, venture capital partners, private equity founders, and generational wealth families. They aren't just high earners, they're wealth builders and legacy creators. I've worked with tech CEOs who sold their companies, hedge fund managers, and families who have been in Boston for generations. The common thread here is that they're not just buying a house, they're investing in a lifestyle and a legacy. Finally, the lifestyle markers that define these communities. Privacy here is paramount. We're talking about properties where you can't see your neighbor's house. Land isn't just about space, it's about control over your environment. Easy access to Boston is a non-negotiable because these buyers have significant business interests in the city. And there's something interesting here is that many of these families send their kids to private schools, even when they're living in towns that have top public schools, because they want that additional layer of exclusivity and networking. So now we know what defines ultra wealthy. Let's look at where these buyers are actually choosing to live, because each of these 5 towns has something completely different, and that difference might matter more than you think. Now let's break down the 5 towns where Boston's ultra wealthy are actually putting down roots. Each has its own distinct personality, and understanding these differences can save you from making a very expensive mistake. Number 1 on our list is Weston. Weston is the gold standard for privacy and academic excellence. We're talking about a town where the average home price is well over $2 million, lot sizes start at 2 acres, and the public schools consistently rank number 1 in the state. But here's what the statistics don't tell you. Weston is quiet, really quiet. If you're looking for a walkable coffee shop or a spontaneous dinner out, you're gonna be driving at least 15 minutes minimum. The trade-off here is that the schools are incredible and privacy is pretty much everywhere. You're essentially living in a beautiful bubble. The people who thrive in Weston are families who prioritize their children's education above everything else. They value privacy and they don't mind that their social life happens elsewhere. Number 2 on our list is Brookline. Brookline is where luxury meets urban convenience, and it's the only town on this list where you can walk to world-class restaurants, boutique shopping, and still send your kids to the best public schools. The real estate here is some of the most expensive per square foot in Greater Boston, but what you're paying for here is location, location, location. You're 10 minutes from downtown Boston, you have the Green Line right at your doorstep, and the town has a really sophisticated international feel. The downside here is space. A $3 million budget in Brookline gets you significantly less square footage and acreage than the same money in Weston or Dover. But for families who want to live more like they're in Manhattan than the suburbs, Brookline is really the best option. Number 3 is Dover. Dover is for buyers who want total seclusion. This is equestrian country with rolling hills, horse farms, and some of the most private estates in New England. This town has no commercial district by design, and they've intentionally kept it very residential and rural feeling. What makes Dover special here is space. We're talking about 5, 10, even 20 acre properties where you can't even see your neighbor. It's perfect for families who want to raise kids with horses, hiking trails, and complete privacy. The reality check here is that Dover can feel really isolating. You're 30 to 45 minutes from Boston, depending on traffic, sometimes a lot worse, and you're gonna be driving everywhere. But if your definition of luxury is space and privacy, Dover is unlike any other option. Number 4 is Wellesley. Wellesley strikes the perfect balance between prestige and community. The schools here are exceptional, and the downtown is actually pretty vibrant feeling with high-end shopping and restaurants. There's a real social scene here. What sets Wellesley apart is the energy. There are community events, an active social calendar, in the downtown area where you'll actually run into neighbors. It's polished without feeling stuffy, and there's a big sense of community pride here. Homes in Wellesley range from historic colonials near the village center to modern estates on the outskirts. Wellesley families tend to be very involved in schools, in town activities, and in each other's lives. If you want to be part of a community, not just a beautiful house, Wellesley is an amazing option. And number 5, Lincoln. Lincoln is the most understated town on this list, and that is exactly the point. This is where old New England money goes to live quietly amongst conservation land and historic charm. Lincoln has more protected open space per capita than almost any other town in Massachusetts. The lifestyle here is a lot more about nature, sustainability, keeping things pretty low key. You won't find flashy new construction or crazy displays of wealth. The buyers who choose to live in Lincoln value environmental conservation, they want to keep their kids connected to nature, and they prefer substance over flash. It's sophisticated in the quietest way possible. And before we move on, let me quickly mention a few other towns that deserve some consideration. Lexington is the perfect blend of schools and walkability. Concord for its historic charm and heritage. Belmont has amazing proximity to Cambridge and Boston, and then Winchester has a really strong community feel and excellent value. Each of these towns offers something unique, and depending on your priorities, one of them might actually be a better fit than what we're calling the Big Five. The key takeaway here is that expensive doesn't always mean the best fit, and in Boston's luxury market, fit is more important than price tag. Here's what surprises most people about Boston's luxury market. Even when money isn't a limiting factor, you still can't have everything. The ultra wealthy face the same fundamental trade-offs as everyone else, just at a different price point. Let's start with the biggest one, privacy versus community. The more private your estate, the more isolated you become. Dover and Lincoln offer incredible privacy, but you might go days without seeing a neighbor. Wellesley and Brookline give you community, but you're trading that for a sense of complete seclusion. Then there's space versus walkability. You can have a 5-acre estate in Dover, or you can walk to dinner in Brookline, but you can't have both. The trade-off hits families particularly hard when they have teenagers who want independence, but live somewhere that requires driving everywhere. School culture versus social scene is more nuanced. Weston has the highest test scores, but some families find the academic pressure to be pretty intense. Brookline has excellent schools and a vibrant social scene, but the competition for everything from preschool spots to high school activities can be pretty overwhelming for some people. The commute trade-off is real even for the ultra wealthy. Yes, you can have a driver maybe, you have more flexible hours, but time is still time. Living in Dover means at least 45 minutes to downtown Boston on a good day. Living in Brookline means 15 minutes, but you're paying double for the square footage. And then finally, there's new money versus old money. Some towns like Lincoln and parts of Wellesley have deep generational roots. If you're a tech entrepreneur who just sold your company, you might feel like an outsider in these communities. Other areas, like parts of Brookline, are more welcoming to newly wealthy families. The reality is that at every price point, you're making a choice about what matters most to your family. The difference is that when you're spending $3 million instead of $800,000, people expect those choices to be perfect. But Perfect doesn't exist, even in Boston's most exclusive suburbs. Understanding these trade-offs before you start looking can save you from buyer's remorse at a very expensive level. If you're watching this and thinking, how do I know which town actually fits me? You're not alone. We've created a free relocation guide that breaks down Greater Boston's most in-demand suburbs on lifestyle fit, not just price point. You can scan the QR code on the screen, or if you want more info on each of these towns that we talked about, head to bostonstreetpulse.com, where you'll find guides for each individual town that include community events, real estate pricing and tips, as well as school and commute information. Let's talk about the most dangerous word in luxury real estate, best. Because I've seen more million-dollar mistakes made by choosing the best rankings instead of finding the right fit. Best schools doesn't mean best fit. Here's the reality about school rankings. They measure test scores, not happiness. A school district might have perfect test scores, but that doesn't tell you if that's the right environment for your child's learning style, interests, or personality. The best school district for your family is the one where your kids thrive, not necessarily the ones with the highest average SAT scores. Prestige can often mean isolation. Town prestige often comes with a cost that you don't see in marketing materials. Dover, incredibly prestigious, but it's also incredibly quiet. If you're used to spontaneous social interactions, walking to coffee shops, or having your kids bike to their friends' houses, Dover's lifestyle might feel like a prison to you. I've had clients who were attracted to Dover's exclusivity only to realize 6 months later that they hadn't made a single friend because the town doesn't have as many natural gathering places. The prestige is real, but so is the loneliness. Sometimes the most highly ranked towns have cultures that don't match what you're looking for. This is especially true for families who don't fit the traditional mold or who are new to the area. Rankings don't measure how welcoming a community feels day to day. What matters is finding the place where you'll feel comfortable and accepted, regardless of how prestigious the town's reputation might be. The real best town is where you wake up excited to be part of the community. It's where your kids make friends easily, where you feel comfortable at the grocery store, and where the lifestyle matches your values. Don't let rankings dictate your life. Use them as a starting point, but trust your instincts about where you might actually want to live, because no amount of prestige can make up for feeling like you don't belong. Let me share a real example that perfectly illustrates why the best towns aren't always the right choice. I had a client I recently worked with who was relocating from Florida. Where they were living in Florida, they had it all. A 30-minute walk to a vibrant urban downtown, top school districts for their kids, and a lot of square footage for their price point. The problem for them in Greater Boston was that they could only afford 2 of the 3 things on their wish list. When I initially met with them, they were fixated on having a walkable lifestyle where they could go hang out at big artist concerts and good restaurants, essentially all the events that happen right in Boston. They wanted to live in Brookline because they had heard the schools were some of the best in the state from another friend that they knew, and they thought it would fit their urban lifestyle. However, having enough space for their family and a setup where they could age in place was really important to them too. It took some time, but they eventually realized that they wouldn't be able to get all the things on their wish list. Brookline was the best fit for their entertainment desires and schools, but in their budget, it would mean a huge trade-off for space. Ultimately, they ended up moving their search to places like Melrose and Winchester, and they ended up buying in Melrose because it fit the highest number of their needs. Melrose is a great community, but you'll notice that it's not even on my Big 5 list. The lesson here is that this family's story illustrates one of the most important points about Boston's luxury market. Sometimes the right answer isn't on the best of lists. Sometimes it's about finding the community that checks the most boxes for your actual lifestyle, not the one with the most prestige. They could have afforded any of the towns I mentioned earlier, but they chose to prioritize fit over status. And 6 months later, they told me this was the best decision of their entire relocation process. So the takeaway here is don't get super focused on the elite suburbs because you might miss communities that might actually make you feel happier. So how do you cut through all the noise and figure out which suburb is actually right for your family? Well, it comes down to asking yourself 4 honest questions before you start looking at properties. Question number 1 is walkability versus driving. Do you want to walk to a coffee shop or drive 15 minutes for everything? This isn't just about convenience, it's about lifestyle. If you're someone who values spontaneous walks to grab coffee, browse shops, or meet friends for dinner, you need Brookline or Wellesley. If you prefer privacy and don't mind driving everywhere, Weston or Dover might be the right fit. But be honest about this one. Don't convince yourself you'll love driving everywhere if you've always been a walker. Question number 2. Your priority hierarchy. Am I looking for schools, space, social scene, or all three? Here's the reality. In Boston's market, you usually get to pick two. Brookline gives you schools and social scene, but limited space. Dover gives you schools and space, but minimal social scene. Wellesley comes closest to all three, but you'll pay a premium for that balance. Rank these in order of importance to your family before you start looking, because it will save you months of frustration. Question number 3, community fit. Do I want to be around families like mine, or am I okay standing out? This is more than demographics. It's about values, lifestyle, and how you want to spend your time. Some towns have very established social hierarchies and ways of doing things. Others are more welcoming to newcomers and different family structures. Think about whether you want to blend in or if you're comfortable being different from your neighbors. Question number 4, the commute reality. How much time do I want to spend commuting in Boston? So many people underestimate this one. Even if you work remotely most days, you'll still need to get into the city regularly. And 15 minutes from Brookline feels very different from 45 minutes from Dover when you're doing it twice a week for years. Factor in not just your commute, but your spouses and how often you want to enjoy Boston's restaurants, culture, and nightlife. The bottom line here is that when you're buying at this level, you're not just buying a house, you're buying into a rhythm of life. Make sure that it matches yours. The most expensive mistake you can make is choosing a town based on what sounds impressive rather than what actually fits how you want to live day to day. Now that you know what to look for, here's how to actually evaluate these towns before you make a multi-million-dollar commitment. Step 1 is do what I call the weekend test. Spend a full weekend in 3 to 4 shortlisted towns, not just a quick drive-through. Actually stay there, book a hotel or Airbnb, and live like a resident for 48 hours. This isn't about a tourist experience, it's about understanding what a Tuesday morning feels like and what a Saturday afternoon feels like, and how that town actually functions when you're living there. Step 2, experience the daily rhythm. Visit the town center during different times of day, go to coffee shops at 8 a.m. and see who's there. Walk around at lunchtime, check out the evening scene. If you have school-aged kids in your future, do the school drop-off drive-through during rush hour. See how long it actually takes, how the traffic flows, and what other parents are like. Attend a local event if there's one happening, a farmer's market, town meeting, community festival. You'll learn more about the town's personality in 2 hours at a local event than 2 days of driving around looking at houses. Step 3, look beyond the real estate. Don't just look at houses, look at life. Notice how people interact with each other. Are neighbors chatting on the sidewalks or rushing past each other? Do kids play outside, or is everything happening behind closed doors? Pay attention to details that real estate listings don't mention. How walkable does it actually feel? How long does it take to get groceries? What's the vibe at the local restaurants? These observations will tell you more about your day-to-day happiness than a home inspection can. And step number 4, work with someone who knows the nuance. Finally, work with a local advisor who understands the subtle differences between these communities. Someone who knows that 2 streets can have completely different personalities and that one neighborhood within a town might be more welcoming to newcomers than another. At this price point, you're not just buying property, you're making a lifestyle investment. And the right advisor should be able to tell you not just what's for sale, but what life actually looks like in each community. And remember, when you're spending this much money, taking time to really understand the community isn't just smart, it's essential. A few extra weekends of research can save you from years of regret in a very expensive move later on. If you're planning to move to or within Greater Boston, choosing the right suburb is more than just picking the priciest zip code. It's about finding a place that aligns with how you actually want to live. That's exactly why we created the Boston Relocation Guide. It breaks down the top suburbs by lifestyle, not just listing prices, so you can feel confident you're making the right decision, not just the most expensive one. You can scan the QR code on the screen, or if you want more in-depth neighborhood profiles, head over to bostonstreetpulse.com, especially if you're eyeing any of the towns I covered today. And if you're ready to go deeper or need a sounding board for your move, feel free to reach out to us at info@streetpropertyteam.com. We help high-end buyers make smarter decisions every day, and my team and I would love to help you out. And if you're ready to dig into what's literally changing these suburbs, don't miss my next video. 5 huge attractions coming to the Boston suburbs in 2025. It's the perfect companion to this one, showing you how lifestyle and infrastructure upgrades can reshape where and how you live.